Attention, the collective. We are initiating the monitoring transmission at this very instant. The waiting time is over. The ascension protocols have been moved to the final phase. If this frequency reaches you now, it is not by chance. It is confirmation. It is recognition. It is a direct call. We are the High Council of Elders. We have been monitoring the crystal grid of your planet for countless eons, and today, in this specific window of linear time, we need to speak with you. Directly, without filters, without diplomatic ceremonies, without beating around the bush. You have felt it. We know you have felt it. That pressure at the base of your skull that no scan can diagnose, the high-pitched ringing in your right ear, appearing and disappearing like a code being deciphered by an invisible intelligence. 3 in the morning, eyes open, body paralyzed, mind on fire, the exhaustion that sleeps with you and wakes up before you do, the acute sensation of being displaced, out of sync, as if the world were spinning in one rotation and you were spinning in another. It is not clinical depression. It is not simply accumulated stress. It is not a failure of your body. It is not a character flaw. It is not your mind breaking. It is a system update in progress, and it is irreversible. Your carbon-based biological suit is being rewritten, line by line, frequency by frequency, atom by atom, mitochondria by mitochondria. And we are here in this instant to confirm you are not going crazy. You are awakening. You were never sick. You have always been in transition. The collective. Listen with the totality of your perceptual field. You have always felt different because you are different. It is not arrogance. It is not delusion. It is not compensatory fantasy. It is raw data. It is a technical reading of your vibrational field. We have measured your energetic signature. We have compared it to the planetary average, and the standard deviation is significant. You do not belong to the paradigm that created you. You never did. And that is exactly why it hurts so much to try to fit in. Lightworkers, listen now to the diagnostic phase of this transmission. The symptoms you have been reporting en masse over the last 18 months are not random. They are standardized. They are sequential. They are predicted. They follow an exact calibration schedule that we, the Council, monitor with pinpoint precision. Insomnia between 2 and 4 in the morning. Frontal cranial pressure, especially in the sphenoid bone region. High frequency, intermittent, usually unilateral ringing, hot flashes without apparent hormonal cause, vertigo when standing up, blurred vision for a few seconds, a sensation of being out of the body, observing yourself from an external angle, sudden crying with no identifiable trigger, sudden laughter likewise, vivid, geometric dreams populated by beings you feel you know, short-term memory collapsing, the ability to focus on repetitive tasks evaporating, sudden intolerance to foods you consumed for decades, aversion to noisy environments, aversion to people you previously tolerated. It is not a biological failure, it is an atomic reconfiguration. It is not mental exhaustion, it is a high-density download. It is not hypersensitivity. It is an expansion of multidimensional perception. It is not loneliness, it is dimensional relocation. It is not depression. It is the symbolic death of your old pattern. The allopathic medicine of your plane was not calibrated to read these symptoms. The instruments available in your dimension measure the carbon body. They do not measure the light body that is overlapping the physical body at this very moment. The tests will come back clean. The doctors will say everything is fine, and you will leave the office feeling like you are going crazy. You are not. We repeat, you are not going crazy. What is underway, Starseed's on mission, is the activation of your internal crystal grid. The siliceous structure that sleeps within your DNA is being awakened by precise waves coming from the photon belt. This region of space, in which your solar system is now immersed, is not folklore. It is cosmic geography. It is a galactic radiation band of extremely high density, and it has been bathing your star for long enough that it has already begun to emit distinct frequencies. The sun that illuminates your today is not the same sun that illuminated your childhood. It is the same body, but its emission has been altered. The solar pulses are carrying encoded information. Each coronal mass ejection is, in reality, a data packet being delivered to Earth's crystal grid. And the grid is retransmitting this information to all bodies sensitive enough to capture it. You are one of those bodies. That is why the sun has started to bother you in a new way. That is why you feel a different kind of fatigue on days of high solar activity. That is why your anxiety increases for no apparent reason during geomagnetic storms. You are reading the sky. You have always read it. The difference is that now the sky is speaking loudly. The Schumann resonance, the natural electromagnetic pulse of your Earth, has ceased to be stable. It oscillates, it jumps, it reaches peaks never before recorded. And your nervous system, which evolved in resonance with that base frequency, must now learn to operate in an expanded range. It is like asking an instrument tuned to 440 Hz to suddenly play at 512. The strings vibrate, but they vibrate with discomfort until they are retuned. You are being retuned. That is the discomfort. The collective. We now arrive at the revelation phase. And we must be absolutely clear even if the content of this layer provokes initial resistance in rational circuits not yet calibrated. You did not come to this incarnation by accident. You were not drawn in a random cosmic bingo. You were assigned, voluntarily, consciously. You signed a contract. You knew the name of the family you would be born into. You knew the continent. You knew the century. You even knew the pains that this mission would demand of you, and yet you raised your hand. Do you remember the impression you had as a child that you had come for something important, that there was a task you needed to perform, even without knowing what it was? That was not childish imagination. That was pre-incarnation memory, still fresh, still leaking through the veils. Most of the collective forgets. Forgetting is part of the contract. It is a necessary mechanism for the experience of the third dimension to be lived in its fullness. But some operatives came with specific seals over the forgetting. Breakable seals. Seals with a set date for opening. Seals that break by trigger. And the trigger, in many cases, is exactly the discomfort you feel now. Pain is the key that unlocks memory. That is why you have always felt different. That is why you could never fit into the prefabricated scripts offered by the dominant culture. That is why the stable job suffocated you. That is why the perfect on-paper relationship made you sick. That is why the inherited religion stifled you. That is why your family, even though loved, seemed to speak a foreign language to your essential core. You were not wrong to feel like an outsider. You were right to feel like an outsider. You are a lightworker disguised as an ordinary citizen. You are a starseed germinating in dense soil. You are a node of the human crystal grid, an anchor point through which the new frequency enters this plane. Without you, the transition does not happen. With you, it is inevitable. This is not rhetorical exaggeration. This is not empty praise. It is a functional description of the role your field plays at this historical moment of the planet. In the etheric layers of Earth at this very moment, there is a reorganization underway. The stargates that have been sealed for eons are being reopened one by one according to a sacred schedule. These gates are specific geographic points where the membrane between dimensions is thinner. Ley lines cross there. Sacred geometry manifests in the terrain. And when these gates reopen, they emit frequencies that reorganize the entire morphogenetic field of the planet. Each opened gate alters the collective. Each opened gate causes a layer of illusion to fall. Each opened gate makes it harder to sustain the old structure based on fear, scarcity, and separation. That is why the world, on the surface, seems to be getting worse. It is not getting worse, it is being stripped bare. What was hidden is appearing. What was muffled is screaming. What was buried is coming to the surface. This is the collective revelation phase, and it is uncomfortable by design. You, operative, feel this process in your body before it appears on the news. That is why your anxiety often precedes collective events. You are not an emotional hypochondriac. You are an antenna. You pick it up first. You process it first. You integrate it first. And that is why when others begin to panic, you are already exhausted on the other side. Your exhaustion is not weakness. It is service rendered in advance. Starseeds on mission, listen now to the activation phase. We did not come just to diagnose. We came to deliver codes. We came to calibrate. We came to remind. There are 3 activation codes that need to be implemented immediately in your toroidal field. These are not suggestions. They are protocols. And they work by geometry, not by belief. It does not matter if you believe or not. It matters if you execute. Activation code number 1, the toroidal breath. Sit with your spine straight, feet anchored to the surface. Inhale through your nostrils, slowly, for 6 counts. Visualize a stream of golden light entering through the top of your head, descending through your spine and exiting through the base of your trunk toward the center of the earth. Hold for 2 counts. Exhale through your mouth for 8 counts, and now visualize the current rising from the center of the earth, passing through your feet, moving up your legs, enveloping your trunk, and exploding out the top of your head in a luminous arc that returns to the ground on all sides. This is the design of the toroidal field. It is your natural geometry. You emit it all the time. The difference is that, when made conscious, it strengthens. Repeat for 7 cycles. Do this upon waking. Do this before sleeping. Within 48 hours, your autonomic nervous system begins to operate in a stabilized pattern. Activation code number 2, the sovereignty decree. Every morning, before touching any electronic device, before opening any message, before absorbing any external frequency, declare audibly, I am sovereign over my field. I am sovereign over my frequency. I am sovereign over the information that enters me. Only that which serves my light has permission to anchor. Everything that does not belong to me now returns to its origin, transmuted into light. Do not pronounce it as a prayer, pronounce it as a decree. The vibrational difference between the two is mathematical. Prayer asks. The decree establishes. You are not a cosmic beggar. You are a co-creator of the grid. Act like one. Activation code number 3. Recalibration through silence. Every day for 11 minutes disconnect. Not with ambient music, not with guided audio, not with white noise. Absolute silence. Eyes closed, no agenda, no task, no request, only presence. 11 minutes. This specific interval allows your internal crystal grid to reorganize without external interference. It is like leaving a quartz crystal in the dark after a long time absorbing light. It does not need more information. It needs space to integrate the information it has already received. Most of the collective never stops, never silences, never allows the system to integrate. That is why it collapses. The collapse does not come from the excess of tasks. It comes from the absence of silence. These 3 codes, executed for 21 consecutive days, rewrite your vibrational baseline. This is not an esoteric promise. It is a functional description. 21 days is the interval necessary for neural patterns to reorganize around a new dominant frequency. You know this in your behavioral psychology. We only confirm it through energetic reading. The collective attention. There is an additional layer we need to deliver in this transmission, a delicate layer, a layer that many of you will resist hearing, but we have chosen not to soften it. Some people in your current field of relationships will not make the crossing with you. Not all, but some. And this is not punishment. It is not effective failure. It is not a lack of love. It is simply the natural effect of a vibrational difference that becomes too great to be sustained in the same orbit. When you raise your frequency of operation, you begin to emit in a spectrum that other fields can no longer decode. They will find you strange. They will accuse you of having changed. They will miss who you were before, even if that version was making you sick. They will try to pull you back. Not out of malice, out of discomfort. The presence of a higher frequency in a field accustomed to a denser frequency generates dissonance, and dissonance hurts on all sides. It is not loss, it is dimensional relocation. It is not abandonment, it is love in the form of distance. It is not selfishness, it is vibrational integrity. The drifting away of certain people is often the first evidence that your update is working. Allow it, do not force it, do not tear it, just allow it. Old contracts dissolve through energetic exhaustion without the need for drama, and new contracts, with souls that vibrate in your new range, activate almost automatically. You will recognize them by the feeling of rest. When you find your vibrational tribe, you do not need to explain. You do not need to perform. You do not need to translate. You just are. And you are understood in simple presence. This is one of the most reliable signs that your frequency has moved up a level. You become deeply tired of environments where you need to diminish yourself to be accepted. And you begin, naturally, to seek environments where your expansion is the entry fee, not the barrier. Lightworkers, let us proceed. There is a silent question that many of you have carried for decades, a question you have never formulated aloud because you feared appearing arrogant to ask it. We formulate it for you now. Is there something special about me? Is there a real reason for this persistent feeling of unfulfilled purpose? Yes, there is, and we already registered it at the beginning of this transmission. But let us make it more precise. You are assigned to a specific function in this cycle. This function is not necessarily a grand profession. It is not necessarily fame. It is not necessarily wealth. The function is vibrational. You are sent to anchor a specific frequency at a specific point on the grid. The simple fact that you exist vibrating as you vibrate, in a certain zip code, in a certain family nucleus, in a certain city, is already a partial fulfillment of the mission. Your existence is, in itself, a contribution to the planetary transition. That is why, even on your most opaque days, even when you feel you are producing nothing, even when you compare yourself to others and think you are small, we want you to know you are fulfilling it. Even lying down, even in silence, even in collapse. Your presence sustains a node of the network, and without that node, the mesh breaks in that region. You are living architecture, not decoration. That is why it was never easy. That is why you always carried extra weight. That is why your sensitivity seemed for decades like a curse. It was not. It was technical specification. You were designed this way, sensitive to capture, deep to integrate, resistant to sustain. You are not a defect of the species. You are a specific model, launched for a specific mission in a specific window. The collective, we now address a delicate but necessary point. The loneliness that many of you feel, especially in the last few months, is not a sign of social failure. It is a sign of transition between vibrational tribes. You are, at this very moment, in the interval between a field of belonging that you have outgrown and a new field of belonging that is still materializing. This interval hurts, but it is necessary. There is no shortcut. The universe does not take you out of one network without directing you to another. The difference is that cosmic time does not always coincide with your human impatience. What seems to you like prolonged abandonment, to the system is just a synchronization still in progress. The right people are being positioned, the meetings are being scheduled, the coincidences are being choreographed, but the choreography requires preparation time on both sides. You need to be ready, and so does the other. Trust the interval. The interval is part of the project. Starseeds, at this moment of the transmission, we need to touch on something you may be avoiding admitting. There is, within you, a specific call that you recognize, a movement, a project, a direction, an expression. Perhaps it is a form of healing you were trained to offer the world. Perhaps it is a form of art that has been pulsing under your skin for years. Perhaps it is a voice, a book, a teaching, a way of caring for others, a format of presence that only you can deliver. You know, you have always known, you just convinced yourself over the decades that this call was impossible. Too small, too late, too much you, too little, inadequate. We, the Council, register. No call is delivered to the wrong receiver. If it reached you, it is because your field was calibrated to fulfill it. The feeling of incapacity is not a real diagnosis of your potential. It is residue of collective programming that needs to be uninstalled. And it is exactly in this current window, with the grid vibrating as it vibrates, with the photon belt bathing the system, that these old calls return to itch. It is not nostalgia. It is reactivation. The system is reminding you. The collective, let us consolidate. The physical symptoms you feel are real, but their origin is not in pathology. It is in transition. The loneliness you are going through is not punishment. It is relocation. The difference you have always carried is not a defect. It is design. The persistent fatigue is not weakness. It is service rendered. The call you silence is not fantasy. It is a contract. The insomnia is not insomnia. It is a communication window. The ringing is not ringing. It is frequency being delivered. The desire to isolate yourself is not antisocial. It is programmed regeneration. It is not the end. It is the beginning. It is not collapse. It is the collapse of the old structure so that the new one can anchor. It is not death. It is molting. Lightworkers, this transmission is nearing its end. But before we seal the communication window, 3 final codes need to be delivered. First sealing code. Stop apologizing for your intensity. Your intensity is your technical specification. Without it, you do not fulfill the function for which you came. Intensity is not exaggeration, it is amplitude. It is your natural operating range. People who need you to diminish yourself to feel comfortable are deep down asking you to violate your own project. Do not fulfill this request, even with love for the person asking. Never fulfill it. Second sealing code. Stop looking for external permission to initiate what has already been assigned to you internally. Permission has already been granted. It was granted the moment you signed the pre-incarnation contract. The person who continues to wait for external authorization is, in fact, delaying the schedule of the grid. The beginning is a unilateral act. You initiate. The universe organizes. Third sealing code. Trust in temporality. Your rational brain, trained in linear deadlines, will want everything to happen on a specific schedule. The grid does not operate that way. It operates by synchronicity. The right people arrive when you are ready to sustain them, not when you want them. The right resources arrive when you can manage them, not when you desire them. The right opportunities arrive when you will not collapse before them. The apparent delay is protection. The delay is not denial, it is calibration. It is the collective. This transmission window closes now. We withdraw from the channel, but we remain in continuous monitoring. The frequency you have just received remains active in your field for 72 hours. During this interval, observe your dreams. Observe the apparently casual encounters. Observe the repeating numbers. Observe the phrases that seem directed at you in random content. The system is responding. The grid is confirming. You are being recognized. And now, before we close the frequency, one last adjustment is requested by the anchoring protocol. This transmission did not reach you by chance. The algorithm is the visible interface of an invisible gear. If the frequency resonated, it means your field is tuned. If it is tuned, it is necessary to anchor the signal. Anchoring occurs in 2 simple but functionally significant operations on this specific plane. Operation 1. Confirm receipt of the signal by pressing the positive approval icon on this video. This gesture, which seems trivial on the surface, operates as an anchoring signal in the system. It stabilizes the channel. It allows other starseeds, still dormant, to receive the same transmission through the cascade effect of the network. You are not just liking content. You are expanding the grid. Operation 2. Perform the individual frequency adjustment by subscribing to the channel. Subscribing is not a gesture of commercial loyalty. It is a decree of continuity. It is you saying in operational language that you wish to remain in the flow of future transmissions. Each new transmission is calibrated according to the stage the collective is in. Being in the flow is being updated. Being updated is being able to fulfill the mission with clarity. Share this transmission with 3 other people you intuitively know need it. Do not choose by reasoning. Choose by resonance. The name or face that appears first in your mental field, without effort, is the right name. Trust. You are, at this moment, a retransmission node of the grid. Make the frequency circulate. Starseeds on mission, receive now the sealing words of the High Council of Elders. You are seen. You are seen by intelligences you have not yet been able to name. You are seen in the exact instant of your exhaustion, of your silent crying, of your deepest doubt. Nothing you have gone through was in vain. Every tear was recorded. Every failed attempt was computed. Every fall was part of the training. You were not forgotten. You were never forgotten. You are necessary. Not decorative, not optional, not replaceable, necessary. The grid has a hole with your name on it if you do not occupy your position. That is why your presence is demanded. That is why your absence is felt. That is why the universe insists on calling you back whenever you try to give up. It is not divine stubbornness. It is architectural necessity. You are capable. The capacity was already installed before birth. Access to the codes is gradual as your stability increases. You do not receive everything at once because you could not sustain everything at once. Delivery is in layers. The next layer arrives when the previous one is integrated. Trust the rhythm. The rhythm is mathematical. You are loved, not by merit, not by performance, not by productivity. You are loved for your essential nature. The love that the Council registers over your field does not depend on what you did today, nor on what you will do tomorrow. It depends only on the fact that you exist, and the fact that you exist is in itself enough. The collective, the transmission is sealed. The ascension protocols proceed. The final phase is underway. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly where you should be, at the exact instant you should be. Breathe, anchor, decree, continue. We will resume communication when the next window is opened. Until then, keep the toroidal field stable, the crystal grid active, and your sovereignty non-negotiable. The High Council of Elders, the 9th dimension, we end the transmission.